Not indifferent to your suffering. God is not a spectator in your struggle. You may have felt forgotten, but you were not. You may have felt abandoned, but you were under divine protection. Sometimes the deepest pain hides the greatest purpose. Sometimes the season of silence is when God is doing the loudest work in your destiny. When others gave up on you, God was standing beside you. When you felt like everything was collapsing, God was laying the foundation for something far greater. You see, God does not subtract without preparing to multiply. He does not prune without preparing a greater harvest. What you lost is not gone. It is stored in God's time, and He will return it in ways you never imagined. Many have tried to measure your future based on your past. They think that what you lost defines what you can still become. But God does not measure the future based on the pain of yesterday. God looks into the hidden places of your life, the parts no one else sees, and says, I will repay. And when God repays, He doesn't give you back what was taken. He gives you something better, deeper, stronger. What God restores is not a copy, it's a new creation. The world may strip you, people may disappoint you, but God never forgets those who trust in Him through fire and loss. Your suffering was not a waste. Your waiting was not in vain. God is a recorder of faithfulness. He does not miss even the smallest act of endurance. Some of you endured heartbreak silently. You didn't retaliate. You didn't seek revenge. You chose peace. And maybe you thought no one noticed. But God did. And now the season is coming where God will reward what you kept hidden. The sacrifices you made, the patience you showed, the love you gave even when it wasn't returned. These things were written in the eternal record, and God never forgets. He will repay you, not only to comfort you, but to glorify His power through your life. There are times when we look around and see everyone else winning, growing, receiving, rising, and we wonder why our prayers go unanswered. But what if the delay is not denial? What if the silence is the setup? God doesn't rush because He's not trying to give you a temporary solution. He's preparing an eternal result. You may be walking through a dry season right now. You may be carrying disappointment like a cloak over your shoulders. But listen, this is the kind of pain that produces purpose. This is the kind of suffering that shapes a destiny. And when the hand of God moves, it moves with precision, not panic. It moves with power, not pity. Some of the people who left your life were never meant to stay. Some of the things that crumbled were never built to last. God removed what would have poisoned your future. God blocked what would have broken you later. You cried when it happened, but one day you will thank Him. You will look back and understand that the loss made room for the blessing, that the closed door was protection, that the silence was sacred, that the silence was sacred, that the emptiness created space for something eternal. And here is what must be known: when God repays, it will come at a time when you least expect it. You won't have to chase it. You won't have to beg for it. The repayment of God is not earned. It is received by those who endure. It is for those who kept walking when everything told them to stop. It is for those who believed, even when there was no evidence. That's who God rewards. Not the strongest, not the loudest, but the faithful. Those who said, I don't understand, but I will keep trusting. That kind of heart touches the throne of heaven. If you've lost years to pain, to trauma, to injustice, God can restore in one moment what was taken in 10 years. If you've lost relationships, God can bring the right ones in due time. If you've lost dignity, peace, or stability, watch as God restores not just what was lost, but more than you imagined. You're not forgotten. You're not overlooked. You're not cast aside. You are on the mind of the one who rules all things. And when He repays, the world will know it wasn't you, it was God. It wasn't your effort, it was His mercy. It wasn't your strength, it was His divine favor. Every loss you endured in silence was a seed planted in God's soil, and the harvest is on its way. Not just a restoration of what was, but a transformation of who you are. That's the real repayment. Not just external blessings, but internal strength. Not just material things, but deep peace. Not just reputation, but wisdom that cannot be stolen. And once you receive that kind of reward, no one can take it away, because it didn't come from people. It didn't come from people. It didn't come from the world. It came from God, and it belongs to you. You may have been broken, but you are not defeated. You may have been emptied, but you are not finished. The greater the loss, the greater the glory that follows when God repays. So don't shrink back. Don't lower your expectations. Don't bury your hope. Lift your eyes. Raise your voice. Strengthen your soul. Because repayment is coming, and it is not small. It is pressed down, shaken together, running over. It is divine repayment, measured not by your pain, but by God's purpose. Those who tried to destroy you didn't realize they were pushing you into the arms of the one who holds all power. Those who mocked your loss will witness your elevation, not because you fought back, but because you trusted God. And now, God will fight for you. You don't need to prove yourself. You don't need to explain your journey. When God repays, He speaks louder than any critic. He moves stronger than any enemy. He opens doors no one can shut. And He does it in such a way that only one name receives the glory, His. You see, there are moments in life when all that remains is your cry to God in the dark. The friends are gone, the opportunities have dried up, and even your strength has run thin. And it's in that sacred space when the world goes silent that God's voice begins to thunder in your soul. God speaks most clearly when everything else has been stripped away. You thought the silence meant God had left you, but it was the silence that brought you into alignment with the sound of His power. It was in the quiet that you became unshakable. It was in the emptiness that your faith was purified, not polluted by the noise of men, but refined by the fire of divine testing. Do not let the weight of what you lost convince you that it was for nothing. Every closed door, every betrayal, every loss has a divine fingerprint on it. God doesn't just allow suffering, He transforms it. He doesn't allow pain to crush you, He uses it to craft you. The wound was real, but it was never the final word. What others meant to destroy you, God used to develop you. The very storm that tried to drown you will become the testimony that lifts others out of their own floods. And this is not just hope, it's divine reality. When God steps in, He rewrites the story, not by erasing the past, but by redeeming it. And when the hand of God redeems something, it becomes stronger than before it was ever broken. Let no one lie to you. What you lost was painful, but what you're about to receive is powerful. What you're walking into will not even compare to what was taken. Because when God repays, it is not to replace, it is to reveal. God's repayment is not limited to material things. His repayment touches the depth of your being. It heals places no eye can see. It strengthens parts of you that were worn thin. It revives what you thought was dead. It renews your hope until your very outlook on life is changed. You no longer walk with a limp. You walk with purpose. You no longer beg for peace. You live in it. You no longer chase after what was lost. You carry what can never be taken again. Some of you have been through seasons that felt like exile. You were shut out, misunderstood, misjudged. You kept your integrity when it would have been easier to compromise. You stood in truth when lies would have opened more doors. And though it seemed like you were passed over, forgotten by everyone, God was watching. And now He is preparing to bring you out of hiding, not to elevate your ego, but to demonstrate His power. What was done in secret will be rewarded in the open, and not by man's timeline, but by God's. Every time you stayed silent when you were slandered, every time you gave when no one noticed, every time you refused to sink into bitterness, God saw, and now the heavens are rumbling with movement on your behalf. The repayment of God is coming, not because of who you are, but because of who He is. He is just. He is aware. He is never late. And when He repays, He not only fills what was empty, He overflows it. He doesn't just settle the score. He raises the standard. And those who thought your story was finished will have to witness the next chapter written by God's own hand. You might feel like your life has been in delay. You prayed, you hoped, you waited, but nothing changed. Listen carefully. God's delay is not denial. Delay is the proving ground of faith. It's where God watches to see if you will trust Him even when there is no evidence. Will you still believe when nothing seems to move? Will you still stand when every voice around you says, sit down? Will you still expect the rain when the sky is dry? That's where the strong are separated from the shallow. That's where the strong are separated from the shallow. That's where the strong are separated from the shallow. That's where the faithful rise. And for those who have endured that kind of season, God has a reward that no one can calculate. Not only will God repay you in your lifetime, but your legacy will carry that reward forward. Generations will be blessed because of how you endured. Entire bloodlines will be shifted because you chose to believe when it would have been easier to quit. This is not just about you. This is about what God is building through you. Your life is the ground where divine restoration is being planted. Your future is the field where the harvest will come. So let them talk, let them laugh, let them mock, because what is coming will speak louder than their words ever could. God is setting a table not just for you, but in the presence of those who never thought you'd rise. This is not about vengeance, it's about vindication. And only God can do that. Only God can take broken pieces and make them a masterpiece. Only God can take seasons of rejection and turn them into revelations of destiny. Some of you were left alone for a reason. You were separated not because you were weak, but because you were chosen. And being chosen doesn't always feel like a blessing. It feels like isolation. It feels like no one understands you. It feels like the weight is too much to carry. But that's where God steps in. And when He steps in, He lifts not only the burden, but lifts you with it. He carries you through the valley, not around it, because He wants to show you who He is in the dark, not just in the light. The scars you carry are not signs of defeat. They are signs of survival. You made it. You didn't break. You didn't surrender. You bent, yes, but you did not break. And for that endurance, there is a reward. There is a divine repayment coming. Not from the hands of those who took from you, but from the hand of the one who owns everything. God is not looking for perfect people. He's looking for persevering people. He's looking for the ones who still lift their eyes to the sky when everything around them screams, give up. Keep standing. Keep trusting. Keep preparing your heart. Because the hour of restoration is closer than you think. And when it comes, you will know that it was not your strength that brought it, it was your surrender. It was not your connections, your plans, and when it happens, no one will be able to explain it. They will try to find a reason, they will search for a cause, but all they will find is the evidence of God's hand at work. Let them wonder, let them ask how you made it. Let them ask how you survived what should have crushed you. And let the only answer be this: God did it. Not talent, not timing, not opportunity, but God. God lifted, God restored, God opened the way, and God repaid. This is not theory, this is truth. And you're not just hearing it, you're about to live it. There are things you lost that you haven't even grieved properly because life moved on too fast. But God doesn't forget what your soul remembers. He knows the weight you carry in silence. And His repayment comes not just to replace, but to redeem. He doesn't return things as they were. He transforms them into what they were always meant to be. That broken relationship you cried over, that opportunity that slipped through your fingers, that time you feel you wasted, none of it was meaningless. In God's hands, even regret becomes a tool for renewal. Some of you are carrying the pressure of proving yourself. You feel like you have to succeed just to silence the voices of doubt around you. But listen carefully, your worth does not come from proving others wrong. It comes from knowing that God is always right. And when He says He will repay, that's all you need to stand on. Don't waste your energy on revenge. Don't waste your heart on bitterness. Don't waste your future trying to make sense of why it happened. Instead, focus on who God is and what He's still going to do. You haven't missed your moment. You haven't gone too far. You haven't failed too deeply. What you lost may have shaped your past, but it cannot define your future unless you let it. And when God repays, He doesn't consult your past to determine your blessing. He consults your faith. He looks at your heart. He looks at what no one else sees. And from that hidden place, He brings forth public restoration. God knows how to take a buried seed and cause it to bloom in a new season. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not growing. And just because you're still hurting doesn't mean healing isn't happening. Sometimes the deepest healing takes place beneath the surface far before the harvest ever appears. But if you keep trusting, if you keep believing, if you keep walking in alignment with His will, the day will come when everything will make sense. And that day will not come because the world gave you closure, but because God gave you peace. Peace is part of the repayment. Clarity is part of the repayment. Stability is part of the repayment. God doesn't just restore outward success, He restores inward security. The kind of assurance that lets you sleep at night. The kind of strength that allows you to smile again. The kind of perspective that makes you thank God even for what didn't work out. Because when you look back, you'll realize that every no was a setup for a greater yes. Every loss was part of the architecture of a divine design. And now the time is coming. God is aligning things. He is positioning people. He is stirring the atmosphere. And soon, what was once out of reach will be placed into your hands, not by luck, not by connections, but by His will. When God decides it's time, no force can delay it. And when God opens a door, no hand can close it. So hold fast to what you know, even when you can't feel it. Anchor yourself not in emotions, but in truth. Emotions rise and fall, but truth stands eternal. And the truth is this: God is faithful. God is able. God is just. And God will repay you, not with the things you think you need, but with what He knows will complete you. And when it comes, it will be more than enough. It will be more than expected. It will be more than you can contain. Because that's how God repays, pressed down, shaken together, and overflowing. You're not at the end. You're not being punished. You're being positioned. And what you thought was buried is about to blossom. What you thought was gone forever is about to return in a way that exceeds every expectation. And when it does, give all praise to the one who never left your side, who saw the whole journey, and who was preparing your reward even while you were walking through the storm. God is not just the one who watched your pain. He is the one who will repay it with purpose, peace, and power. And His timing is perfect, always. And now hear this. When God speaks of restoring, He does not speak in fragments. God does not return a portion of what you lost. He returns with increase. What was taken in tears will return in triumph. What was endured in silence will return in joy. What was buried in darkness will rise in the light. But understand, the repayment of God is not measured by your timeline. It is measured by your transformation. Some of you are looking for compensation in material things, but God is preparing to give you something much greater: unshakable peace, divine discernment, and a soul fortified by truth. You must not confuse the process with punishment. You must not mistake waiting for being forgotten. God delays only because He is perfecting. And when He perfects, He makes no error. The weight you carried was not because God was unaware. It was because He was preparing you to carry something heavier, something holier, something more permanent. It takes strength to receive a blessing and not be crushed by it. And God is wise enough to build the vessel before He pours in the oil. What you call delay, God calls design. And the day is coming when you will understand why it couldn't happen sooner, why it had to fall apart first, why they had to leave, why the door had to close. Because when the divine answer finally comes, it will not come to the old version of you. It will come to the version that pain prepared. Let the world chase quick gain. Let them celebrate temporary victories. But as for those who trust in God, we are anchored in something far deeper. Our blessing is not in the rush, it's in the root. God does not raise people for applause, He raises them for purpose. And when He lifts you, no voice can silence you, no hand can pull you down, no enemy can erase what God has ordained. The repayment you're about to receive will not be based on fairness. It will be based on divine justice. And divine justice does not ask permission. It does not consult the opinions of men. It moves by the command of the Almighty. You must be ready. Ready not only to receive, but to carry the responsibility of what is coming. For with every blessing comes a new level of vision, a higher level of clarity, and a greater level of accountability. This is not about restoring what was convenient. This is about walking into what is consecrated. You are not going back to what was familiar. You are being drawn into what is sacred. And that is why the journey has been long. That is why the fire was intense. Because God does not pour His glory into anything careless or casual. Do not wish to return to what was. Do not long for the comfort of the past. God is not in the business of rewinding. He is in the business of renewing. And when He renews, He makes all things better, not just the same. What you once thought was the pinnacle will look like the starting line compared to what God is about to release. You are standing on the edge of something so vast, so precise, so divinely orchestrated that only God could have written it. And when it arrives, there will be no mistaking it. You won't question if it's from God because it will bear His signature. It will carry the weight of His power, the peace of His presence, and the unmistakable fragrance of divine timing. What once looked like misfortune will become the very foundation of your testimony. The valley you cried through will become the place of your rising. The season you begged to escape will become the season you thank God for. Because in that place, God was forming something eternal in you, something the world cannot give and cannot take. Understand this, your journey is not just about you, it's about what God will do through you. Your restoration will become a roadmap for others. Your scars will speak when words fall short. Your endurance will inspire those who feel forgotten. And all of it will point to God, not to your strength, but to His faithfulness. When people see your rising, they will ask, "How did this happen?" And your answer will be simple and unshakable. God did it. There is a shifting taking place. Heaven is not idle. God is moving in silence, and you are closer to the outpouring than you realize. That pressure you feel is not destruction, it's delivery. You are birthing a new chapter, a higher season, a deeper understanding. And when it arrives, you won't have to apologize for it. You won't have to explain it. Because those who knew your pain will recognize your glory, and those who doubted your endurance will witness your elevation. Let your faith rise. Let your hope stand tall. Let your spirit awaken. Because the time for mourning is passing, and the time for rejoicing is drawing near. Your weeping endured for the night, but morning is approaching. A morning not defined by the sun, but by the light of God's intervention. A morning where the weight is lifted, the promise is revealed, and the heart finally breathes again. God has seen every step. He has counted every sacrifice. He has recorded every moment of obedience. And now the storehouses of heaven are opening, not because you are perfect, but because you are prepared. When the hand of God moves, it is never by accident. It does not tremble. It does not hesitate. It moves with power, with perfection, and with purpose. You must understand that God is not working on your life based on convenience. He is working based on covenant. He made no mistake when He allowed you to walk through loss. He made no error when He permitted the storm. Because through it all, He was shaping your soul to carry the very reward He prepared for you long before the pain ever touched your life. God's plan for your restoration didn't begin after the loss. It was already in motion before the first tear ever fell. There are some seasons where you feel invisible. Not because you are insignificant, but because God has hidden you in His protection. God does not expose what He values prematurely. You weren't rejected, you were preserved, you weren't discarded, you were hidden. When others couldn't see your worth, it wasn't because you had none, it was because God was keeping you from the wrong hands. He was concealing what He intended to reveal in the fullness of time. And when the time is right, not even your enemies will be able to deny the work of God in your life. Every delay, every detour, every disappointment was building something within you that could not be developed in comfort. God trains those He intends to trust with something greater. You were not abandoned in the dark, you were anointed in the dark. And now the season of revealing is coming. Not because you forced it, not because you earned it, but because God decided it was time to repay. You see, God's repayment doesn't arrive as a reward for doing everything right. It arrives because you stayed faithful when things went wrong, because you didn't give up when you were confused, because you held on to hope when everything around you shouted despair. The reward of God is not just what He gives you, it's what He makes you. His greatest repayment is not gold or silver, it's wisdom, maturity, peace that doesn't waver, joy that can't be stolen, strength that doesn't collapse under pressure. He is creating within you the kind of character that can carry favor without being destroyed by it. God will not place greatness in fragile hands. So if your journey has been heavy, it's because the blessing that's coming will be weighty. And what is weighty must be carried by those who have been forged in fire. And here is the truth that must be declared. When God decides to honor your endurance, He does not need your enemies to agree. He does not need your critics to understand. He does not need your circumstances to be ideal. When God repays, He shifts things suddenly. What was closed will open. What was blocked will be released. What was denied will be delivered. And when that shift comes, you won't need to knock on doors. Those doors will swing wide of their own accord, because it was never about human favor. It was always about divine timing. Do not envy those who seem to rise quickly. Do not compare your journey to theirs. What God is building in you is deeper than what can be seen on the surface. Their platform may be tall, but yours will be rooted. And anything rooted in God cannot be shaken. While others build fast and fall hard, you are being grounded, established, and fortified by divine hands. And when the time comes, what God has for you will last. Because what He plants, He waters. What He raises, He defends. What He blesses, He protects. So do not be anxious about how long it has taken. The blessing that comes too soon can crush the unprepared. But the blessing that comes after the pressing, that is the blessing that builds legacies. That is the blessing that touches generations. And that is the blessing God is preparing for you. Your story will not end in lack. It will not conclude in silence. It will crescendo with glory that belongs to God alone. There is a clarity that comes after chaos. There is a focus that comes after the fire. You are not who you were when you began. You have been changed, you have been refined, and now what God is about to release will not only restore what was taken, it will redefine your entire future. You are being aligned not just with opportunity, but with purpose. God is not blessing you with a replacement. He is rewarding you with destiny. You thought you were chasing healing, but God was preparing wholeness. You thought you were asking for survival, but He is delivering victory. And when it arrives, you will no longer carry the wounds of your past, you will carry the wisdom of your journey. Everything you endured has a purpose, and everything you lost has a return. But you must not lose your focus now. You must not trade your expectation for doubt. You must not let fatigue make you forget what God already promised. Stand tall, speak life, keep your posture of praise, because the repayment is not in the far distance, it is closer than your breath, and it will not come empty. It will come full of joy, full of clarity, full of abundance, full of divine proof that God has been with you all along. So rise in your spirit. Let your heart remember who your source is. Not the people who turned on you. Not the systems that failed you. Not the plans that crumbled. Your source is God, and He is not running out. He is not second-guessing. He is not calculating whether you're worthy. He already decided. And when God decides to repay, there is no force, no voice, no darkness, and no delay that can stop it. The next chapter of your life is not built on what others allowed you to have. It is built on what God is commanding to be released. And when that command is spoken, creation itself must obey. Doors will open. Paths will clear. Resources will flow. Not because of who you are, but because of who God is. And He is faithful to complete what He began. He is mighty to fulfill what He promised. He is merciful to restore beyond measure. And He is just to repay, pressed down, multiplied, and overflowing. And I declare this to your heart with urgency and power. When God chooses to act on your behalf, no force in existence can block it. No opposition can reverse it. No delay can cancel it. For God does not operate within the limitations of human understanding. He transcends time, He surpasses logic, and He exceeds expectations. What you thought was buried for good, God is about to resurrect in such a way that not only will it rise, it will shine brighter than it ever did before. What you once held with trembling hands, you will now carry with strength, because you've been tried, tested, and made ready by God Himself. There are times when it may feel like you've reached the end of your strength. You've cried until the tears stopped flowing. You've waited until the clock seemed irrelevant. You've hoped against all odds, and still, it looks like nothing has changed. But listen closely. What hasn't changed in the natural has already shifted in the spiritual. God moves before you see it. He prepares before He reveals. And if you could only see the unseen, if you could only witness what is being rearranged behind the curtain of this life, you would fall to your knees, not in despair, but in overwhelming awe of what God is about to deliver into your hands. There are rewards that are not visible to the crowd. There are victories that don't make noise, but carry eternal value. God is not just in the business of showing you favor in front of people. He is also in the business of healing you in private. That private healing is a repayment in itself. You are being made whole from the inside out. You are being repaired where no human hand could reach. You are being stabilized in the depths of your spirit so that when the blessing arrives, you don't buckle under its weight. Let others chase validation from the world, but you hold out for the reward that comes from God alone. Because when God gives, He gives with peace. He adds no sorrow to it. It does not come wrapped in anxiety. It does not come tangled in manipulation. It comes pure, clear, certain, and appointed. And when it lands in your life, it will not compete with anything, because it will be so clearly from God, no one will be able to deny it. Sometimes the silence of God is louder than the noise of the world. It is in that silence that He tests your roots. Will you still worship when the doors stay closed? Will you still believe when the prayers go unanswered? Will you still follow when the path is hidden in shadow? Because those who endure that